Welcome to the George Albert Smith Fieldhouse in Provo for gymnastics. Some of the best talent in the country will be on display tonight with 10th ranked Denver, 19th ranked BYU, and a talented Southern Utah squad. It's a tri-meet, and it promises to be good. Next on BYU TV. Welcome to the Fieldhouse for a tri-meet tonight, and it is a good one. Denver, Southern Utah, and BYU in the house. I'm Jeremy Jordan alongside former BYU captain Mikkel Merkley. Tonight should be good. Two of the top 20 teams in the country are here.
Yes, Denver and BYU are both highly ranked under 20, and SUU, though at a young team, is gaining experience and has a lot to offer tonight.
Had a season-high 196.8 last week against BYU. Let's check out some of the top performers for each team, beginning with Autumn Jorgensen of Southern Utah.
Autumn is such a force in the gym for this young team. As a sophomore, she brings a lot of experience. She has scored multiple 9-9s on floor this season, and we're excited to see a big score tonight.
For Denver, Maddie Carr is top 16 in 3 events nationally.
Huge all-around competitor for Denver. She is in the top 40 in the nation on vault and has a really unique beam routine I'm excited to see her put together this evening.
And for the BYU Cougars, Shannon Horton-Evans set a new career high in the all-around last week.
Huge new career high, 39.4. She's looking to top that tonight. Another great all-around competitor, crowd favorite on floor. She is just a big, dynamic performer.
There are 3 good coaches in the house tonight. The Southern Utah Flippin' Birds, coached by Scott Bauman. 27th season, 4 regionals to his name. Denver, 10th in the country, coached by Melissa Kutcher-Reinhardt. 20th season, she's from Miami. 19 consecutive regionals, 4 nationals. And the 19th ranked BYU Cougars are coached by the 2004 Olympic silver medalist, Gard Young. Our keys to the meet are brought to you by Tim Daly Ford of Spanish Fork. It's simple, but it's purposeful.
Yes, hits and sticks every time. Gymnastics is interesting in that there is no defense. So every meet we're looking for hits, meaning no falls, no missed elements, and sticks, meaning that when their feet hit the mat, they do not move.
Gard Young has been on BYU Sports Nation several times, and we ask him, what's the key? Hits and sticks every time. So perfectly aligned. Those keys are brought to you by Tim Daly Auto Group, serving Utah since 1968. So all 3 teams getting ready for their first rotations. BYU will start on the vault, and this is what the rotation looks like for the Cougars, as we'll see Minor, P2, Zong, Evans, Van Mierlo, and Bennett on the vault. Our lineups are brought to you by Brady Industries, a provider of commercial cleaning supplies and equipment. Cougars unranked on vault. We'll see Denver a little bit later. They are 6th in the vault. Southern Utah 23rd, so 2 of the top 25 teams in that particular category. We'll see Southern Utah on the bars, and we'll see Denver on the floor, where they are ranked 8th in the country.
Southern Utah will start on bars.
Sometimes in a tri-meet, you'll have multiple people doing the events at the same time. Tonight, we're going to have one at a time, so you're going to see everybody do everything.
It's really great because at home you miss out on that. Here, you get to see it all tonight. We're not going to miss out on anyone's performances.
And here's how this is going to go down in a tri-meet. Sometimes you have 2, sometimes you have 3. So here we are tonight with the tri-meet in the Smith Fieldhouse. Packed in here cozily. So 6 gymnasts per team compete in each event. 5 top scores count. In the case of the vault for Denver, they go 5 up, 5 count. Lowest scores dropped. Team with the highest cumulative score at the end of 4 rotation wins no exhibitions in this tri-meet. Sometimes we have a score that is absolutely uncounted, kind of just some good experience. No exhibitions tonight. So we'll have this tri-meet here. And like we said, this is going to be a fantastic meet. Denver is legit at number 10. BYU, a top 20 team. They moved up 2 spots after last week's meet in Cedar City against Southern Utah. In fact, the last month, all these teams have competed against each other multiple times. They're very familiar with each other.
Yes, and again, in gymnastics, there's no defense, so it's more, at this point, there's a camaraderie, like, hey, nice to see you again. We should be able to see high scores from SUU as well tonight. They have just been getting higher and higher and higher. I expect if they are able to drop one of their lower scores and score well tonight, we will see them higher in the rankings as well.
Like we mentioned, that 196.8 last week was a season high. Hoping to get, equal to or better so that they can be able to keep that 196.8 like you mentioned. So we'll get going on the vault with BYU.
On vault, what we will be looking for is height and distance from the vault. The gymnasts want to have their arms perfectly straight when they're on the vault, and then we're looking for a nice solid landing. Abby gets the team off to a great start. Nice block off the vault, a big hop on the landing. Unfortunately, that will be at least a 2 to 3/10 deduction. At this point in the season, every deduction counts. We're going to be looking for no moving on the landings tonight, especially considering how good these teams are.
SUU on the bars. We'll see Rosa, McBride, Howlett, Yee, Hatelms, and Jorgensen. Hatelmis on the bars. First rotation for the Thunderbirds.
On bars, the keys we will be looking for are cast handstands. When they cast up right here, we want to see that they go directly upside down. We'll be looking for a major release, such as this one, into a transitional release. A transitional release is when the girls go from the high bar to the low bar. And again, as we just spoke about earlier, sticks on the dismounts. Very good opening routine. Very few deductions, a little bit of a bobble there on the transitional move and a tiny, tiny hop, but that's exactly the kind of start the T-Birds will be looking for.
Rosa had a 9.875, a new career high last Friday on this event against BYU.
Here we see she does a great job hitting that handstand. That trick's called a blind full. She does a little bit easier of a dismount. The double back is considered an easier dismount, so she'll do that twisty on the bar to make it more difficult.
Is that an official term, twisty?
The twisty. It's in the code of points.
Sounds official to me. Denver will be on the floor. Sundstrom, Glenn, Scow, Carr, and Addison. So they're going to go 5 up, 5 count as well on the floor, and we'll start with Mia Sundstrom, the freshman from Boulder, Colorado. She had a floor title to her name, a 9.95 on January 14th.
Huge, huge score. There is a lot more pressure on the girls when you go 5 up. Putting a 6th girl up is kind of like having a freebie. If one person falls, there's a chance you might not have to count that score. Where we're only putting 5 up for Denver, they have to count every score no matter what happens. Opening pass, big double back. You'll see those lines that are on that mat. Unfortunately, if you do step out of the blue onto the white or over the lines, that is a 1/10 deduction. You'll see they're called line judges there in the corners with their little flags. We saw on that first pass how the flag went up. She will receive a 1/10 deduction. Good save on that first pass. She was a little bit short on the landing. A less experienced gymnast could have fallen. However, she did a great job. There will be minor deductions at most on that second pass. On floor, we will be looking for not only tumbling that goes forward and backward. Judges are also looking at the quality of dance, leaps, and jumps. They need to see a leap and jump that hits at least a 180-degree split and a toe turn. Beautiful leap pass right there. Obviously a full split. Very pretty. Great opening set. We are already seeing so much good gymnastics tonight. The tri-meet is fun because we just see so much. There's not a lot of downtime. We just get to see great gymnastics over and over. We're gonna see here, you see those lines on the mat, steps just barely out of bounds. It's a little bit tricky to adjust to the floors at meets. A basketball court is slightly bouncy inherently, and then you put a bouncy floor on top of it, and sometimes it's a little difficult to get your bearings.
And that's a new Terraflex volleyball court underneath there as well, which is a little
Probably
bouncy, so
adds
a little umph. So that was Mia Sundstrom of Denver, and we're gonna see Haley Pitu, freshman from Park City, on the vault in the second spot. And Abby Miner scored a 9.75 in that first pass for BYU. Pitu, adopted in China, grew up in Park City. Her career high is a 9.725 in an exhibition on this event.
Haley is new to vault lineup. There were some vault lineup changes. Handled the pressure of her first time so well. You see, she did have to take the hop, but she was so tight and she minimized it as much as possible, which minimizes the deductions. You see, again, she finishes her twist super early, which is what the judges will be looking for, and has lots of time to find the landing. All three teams here tonight are excellent at that on vault.
So from P2 for BYU, we go to McBride for Southern Utah.
On the bars for Southern Utah,
Madison McBride from Orem, Utah. Basically across the street here, Mountain View High School. Her career high on this event is 9.925.
We're going to see Madison here. She does that tricky hop change. We'll see that again in the replay. That does count as a release, adding difficulty to her routines. It's a little easy to miss because it looks so simple, but it's actually very difficult. Madison has such beautiful lines. She just squeezes everything so tight. Huge, huge dismount. That dismount has such a high level of difficulty. She's doing 2 flips in a totally laid out position, which is difficult in itself, and then adding a full twist to it.
Find yourself friends that react to you when you do things like this.
How a gymnastics teammate does. That's probably the best part of gymnastics.
And watch the reaction here from her teammates. That's a crew you want to hang with right there. So Southern Utah off to a strong start.
That was a huge routine. We should expect to see a great score.
Okay, Denver. Emily Glynn from Longmont, Colorado, a freshman. Debuted on the floor on the 6th.
Emily Glynn.
And a 9.65 from Sundstrom.
Typically on floor, we will see 3 tumbling passes. However, if the gymnast difficulty is high enough in their first 2, they may opt not to do a 3rd. It's just fewer things to be deducted on.
Did you think a 9.65 for Sundstrom was fair?
You know, I think I'm a high judger. I thought it was a little bit low. Darn it. Unfortunately, you saw as she stepped out again, but she also, I couldn't tell or not if the line judge raised it for both feet. Unfortunately, if you step out with 1 foot, that's 1/10 off. If you step out with a 2nd foot, it's a 2nd 10th off. These girls just have a lot of power tonight, and we've got to learn how to rein it in a little bit.
Denver is ranked 8th in the country on the floor, one of the best.
Often on floor, we'll see a lot of these down on the ground moves. It was a requirement at one point that you had to have dance that was up really tall, and you had to have dance that was low. The judges are really just looking for a lot of variety. They want to see a lot of depth to your gymnastics skill. Getting ready for that 3rd pass. A lot of times we'll slow down in that corner. Routines are only a minute and a half, but they are just exhausting. Huge, huge double back for the landing. Her amplitude was fantastic, very high on that. The judges are looking to see how high the tumbling is. It is a deduction if you are too low. Again, huge opening pass, so much power, and we just see she kind of slides those, both feet right out of bounds. She comes back really strong though. Like we mentioned before, the judges will be looking for forward and back passes. Sometimes if you're a very strong back tumbler, you will do a back pass that twists so you can do a front flip out of it, and then it will count as your front and back pass.
That was Emily Glynn on the floor for Denver. Now back to the vaults. The 3rd spot, Angel Zhang, the sophomore from Langley, California. Born in Shanghai, moved to Canada at age 6. First team all-conference on the vault a year ago.
Really good effort on that vault. You'll see in the air, she is so tight. She squeezes her arms right down to her body. We're looking for that exactly. A tiny bit short. She didn't quite turn it over. She had a great entry. She just didn't quite turn the flip itself over enough, having it land a little low. Sometimes the girls are trying so hard to stick that they land in their head a little too soon before it actually happens in real life.
All right, here's Madison Howlett on the bars, the sophomore from Temecula, California. It's been bars only in all 6 meets. Did not participate last year. And on her bio says she enjoys Nerf gun wars. So she's a quality performer.
She's a woman of many talents. You'll see here the gymnasts are often jumping to the bar from a springboard. You are only allowed to stand on the low bar 1 time in your routine. So what we'll see here is her transition move, and then she'll stand on the low bar. That's the only time she's allowed to do it. So in order to avoid an extra deduction, we do that springboard mount. Winding up for a big dismount here. Another huge full in for the T-Birds. That was done in a tucked position as opposed to the layout that we saw earlier. They're both called full ins. The tuck just rotates a little faster. It's a little bit easier than the layout. However, it's still a very difficult dismount. Really great routine.
And more celebration. Madison McBride, by the way, 9.85 on the bars in the prior routine. And back to the floor. Here's Denver's Caitlin Scow, the junior from Orlando. Top 35 in the floor, beam, vault the last 2 years. Quality performer for the Pioneers, who are an affiliate member of the Big 12, by the way. That's of interest to the BYU audience.
Yes. They were in the Mountain Rim Gymnastics Conference. I believe that's recent, yes?
Second year as Scout tries to summon a clap from the crowd. At least her teammates here on the road.
Really big opening pass. In gymnastics, the skills are ranked by difficulty A through E. A being very difficult and E being the most difficult. A being very easy, E being the most difficult. That opening pass, that front handspring, front double twist is an E level pass. Beautiful back 1.5 front layout. Again, that's another tumbling pass that counts as both a back move and a front move. What she did so well on her front pass, on that front layout, is that her shoulders stayed really, really high. We're going to be seeing that a lot tonight. The shoulders stay high, the body rotates around. With less experienced gymnasts, what you'll see is they drop their shoulders to create the rotation instead of driving their heels. Again, we're just slowing down in the corner, trying to get her breath again. Preparing for that final pass. Very strong routine. Denver's doing, all the teams are doing really great tonight.
Caitlin Scow for Denver.
Here's that E-level front pass. This routine's a little backwards from what we normally see. Front tumbling tends to be a little harder for gymnasts, so we'll usually see 1 front tumbling pass. Tonight in this one, we saw 3 front tumbling passes.
Back to the vault we go with BYU, and here is Shannon Evans. Strong performer. We talked about her at the top of the broadcast. Freshman of the year last year in the Mountain Rim Gymnastics Conference.
Shannon has a very difficult vault. It's called a blind landing. She does not see the floor until after her feet hit. Handles it very well, very tight in the air. Again, we're looking to give away no deductions. When the girls are in the air, we want to see their body is just squeezing so tight. Has a great entry, tight, tight, tight. Good, again, that hop will be a deduction, unfortunately.
Still got a fist bump from guard Young, though.
Phew.
Is that a must fist pump situation for the coach? or if she really misses it,
he's like,
scowl
we'll
or something.
try next week.
Yeah, exactly. Here's Kirsty Yee, fifth-year senior from California. Bars and beam in all 6 events this season.
Another one of those hop changes, very impressive. She does her, that was a lot of bonus right there. She went hop change immediately into her major release, her Jaeger, immediately into her transitional release. Connecting all 3 of those releases is worth a lot of bonus, which is what the gymnasts are looking for. Huge dismount, huge landing, just a great routine overall. We see there's that fancy hop we talked about earlier, immediately into the piked Jaeger shoot over. Because she does the Jaeger with her feet together instead of her feet in a straddle, as we will sometimes see, it turns it from a D-level skill into an E-level skill. There's a higher chance of kicking the bar, which ups the level of difficulty.
And Southern Utah with a 9.95 on the celebration. Now we go to the floor, and Maddie Carr, quite possibly the best gymnast in the building tonight.
She is very good. She's a very good competitor on everything.
Career high 9.95 on the floor. She went to the NCAA semifinals, 4th in the all-around. That was highest in Denver history last year.
And 4th is huge. We're not talking about 4th out of like 10. We're talking about out of 700 gymnasts. Preparing for that first tumbling pass. Often the first tumbling pass is the most difficult tumbling pass that they'll do. Great landing. And you can see she is just such a performer. The crowd loves her. The judges love it when you perform. They do judge based on your showmanship. That is something that they can deduct for or give points for.
One of the only sports where that comes into play.
Yes. Another huge pass where she's twisting and then does the front flip and twists again. It's very easy to get off and get out just a little bit crooked and not be able to complete the second flip. She handles it so well.
Carr won or had a share of all 4 rotation titles last week. With a 1.5 twist is called a Rudy. A lot of gymnasts will do that because they can see the ground a little easier. It's worth more to add the extra half twist in comparison to the full, but you can also see the ground before you land. It's a very smart, strategic move to eliminate deductions. Huge landing, so confident. Again, that is very impressive to be able to do the back 1.5 twisting immediately into another twist. And you can see these gymnasts, they're literally looking for the floor when they're in the air. It's easier to see on vault. We'll see our vaulters do this. It makes it so much easier to stick. That's why those blind landings, those front passes are so challenging. So from Maddie Carr of Denver to BYU's Jill Van Mierlo. The senior from San Clemente, California. Mom Diane, dad Chris were gymnasts at Michigan.
It's in her blood. Good, really big hops from BYU tonight. I'm sure that seems to be BYU's weak point because their vaults are just huge. They do huge vaults. We'll see what I was talking about earlier. They get in, they twist really fast and tons of room to just open and look for the ground. As the season progresses, we'll be looking for smaller and smaller landing deductions because BYU really, their scores are high on all the other events. They really don't, that's the area they have room to improve most easily. Most easily, like it's easy to stick.
Yeah, it looks
right?
super easy, yeah. Here's Amber Heltumas from Coons Rapids, Minnesota. Has not participated in any events in the last 2 meets, and so here she is on the bars for the Flippin' Birds.
Great cast handstand. We'll be looking for those to go upside down. Blind change into the Jaeger. She did the Jaeger in the straddle position we talked about earlier, a little easier than in the pike position. Unfortunately, every time you fall, not only does your skill not count, but you lose 5/10, which is quite a bit. Great transitional release. Your job when you fall is to come back and finish as perfectly as possible, because more often than not, you don't know if your score is going to have to count. Very good finish. Luckily for SUU, we talked about Denver is doing 5-up on some events. They don't have any wiggle room. More likely than not, we will not have to count this routine for SUU. Huge dismount. SUU has really big dismounts, and they really know where their landings are. They tend to do a lot of sticks.
Amber Hill-Thomas from Southern Utah.
For DU on the floor exercise.
And now Nicole Addison, the senior from Fort Myers, California, participated in the NCAA regionals in the floor the last 2 seasons. 2 floor titles this year as well.
We're going to see a huge opening pass from Nicole. It's called a double A. It's very, very difficult to do. We don't see them done very often because of that in women's gymnastics. It's just so hard to get that momentum and to get your body around.
And a reminder, this is the 5th performer for Denver. They're not going to throw out 6, so all 5 count here.
Huge, huge double A. And again, those landings are key, and she just knew exactly where the floor was. She made it look easy. That's when you know that gymnasts are just great, when they do these crazy skills with ease. Another great layout. I love it. She had a great front layout when their bodies, sometimes we'll see the body go pike up, the bum leads, and then the feet kick. What Nicole did so great is her body stayed straight the entire time. It looks so clean when you do your front layouts that way.
How much were you watching the other team when you competed?
You know, we were not allowed to watch the other team, because if another team is competing, then you have a teammate that's getting ready to compete. So as opposed to watching other teams see what they're doing, you need to be preparing your teammate and cheering them on as they get ready to perform for your team. Huge landing. That was a great routine. We should expect to see a really big score.
Nicole Addison, whose career high on floor is 9.95.
Again, just a huge, huge double A. And so confident on the landings. On floor, you are allowed to take a step back. It's called a lunge. That's why we're seeing on all the other events, any step you take on your landing is a deduction. We're seeing a lot of these gymnasts on floor take 1 step forward. 1 controlled step is not a deduction. And that's where, as Jerem brought up earlier, gymnastics is a little subjective. The judges determine if it is a controlled landing or if it's a deduction a landing worth a deduction.
Final vaulter for BYU, Avery Bennett, the freshman from Gilbert, Arizona.
Avery has a really fun vault we don't see often. She is going to do her twist before she hits the vault. Full on, back tuck off, really big vault. It is BYU's only 10-0 vault right now. I believe Shannon has a 10-0 vault as well, but it's just worth a lot because it is a little trickier. We don't see it as often. Does a full twist and then backflips off her hands after doing a full twist. It's very cool to see.
Bennett says she's extremely double jointed, so you see that come into play there in that twist before she hits the vault. So that's it for BYU on the vault. Southern Utah. We'll wrap it up here on the bars with Autumn Jorgensen. Jorgensen, the sophomore from Orem, Timpanogos High School. Her career high in this event is 9.8.
Great front giant there into the Ginger immediate transitional move, that shoot over. In gymnastics, the routines really start at a 9.5, and then you have to do tricky things like really hard skills or lots of combinations to get your bonus points. So that's when we see these gymnasts doing these really big E-releases, E-dismounts, or combining everything together. It's to earn those bonus tenths that they need for that 10-0 start value. Front giant, we don't see a lot of those in the college level. They're kind of fun. Into the double back. Again, the double tuck is a little easier of a dismount compared to what we've seen tonight, which is why she needed to do the front giant into it, just to add that level of difficulty.
Scott Bauman excited about that finish from Autumn Jorgensen, and rotation 1 is in the books. 10th ranked Denver, 19th ranked BYU, and Southern Utah. Strong start here in this tri-meet, and coming up, Denver takes the vault. They are 6th in the country. It is their strongest rotation as Southern Utah, BYU, and Denver continue in a tri-meet in the Smith Fieldhouse here on a Friday night. 2 of the top 20 teams in the country here on BYU TV. Rotation 2 coming up after the break.
BYU Gymnastics on BYU TV is brought to you by Tim Daly Auto Group, serving Utah since 1968. Brady Industries, honestly better. And by AAA. Learn more at AAA.com. BYU Gymnastics on BYU TV is brought to you by Emergency Essentials, 30 years of helping people prepare. The BYU Store, the official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere. Deseret First Credit Union, sharing your values. And by DexterLaw.com, for help when you need it most.
Our meet summary is presented by Deseret First Credit Union. Deseret First, your values, your timeline, your future. What did you think of the rotation 1 scores, Mikkel?
Fabulous. For all 3 teams to be scoring a 49. A 49 is a difficult score to score. If you're trying to base off, if you've never watched gymnastics before and you're trying to figure out if they're doing a good job, 49 is doing a great job. 48's like, okay. A 47 is obvious mistakes were made.
That is a season high for BYU on the vault, as well at 49.05.
Really good start.
So coming up next, Denver on the vault, BYU on the bars, and Southern Utah on the beam. Denver ranked 6th in the vault, BYU 24th in the bars. So a couple top 25 rotations coming up here in this tri-meet of 2 top 20 teams in Southern Utah.
All right, for this next rotation,
all these teams trying to get the best regional qualifying score, or RQS, and how does that work as they try and get to the NCAA Regionals?
It's a little bit confusing. Regionals is postseason for gymnastics. What they are going to do is they're going to take their top 6 scores from all their meets. 3 have to be from away meets. Drop the highest score and average the remaining 5. That will be their RQS. Which is why earlier we were discussing SUU is carrying a 193, around a 193 in their RQS. Currently, they are looking to have a high score tonight so they can drop that 193 and replace it with a 196.
All 3 of these teams are regional teams. Denver always makes it to the championships, specifically the semifinals, trying to break through to the Super 6, which is the Saturday after the Friday of the semifinals. And BYU has been to the championships before. The regionals are a regular thing for Southern Utah and BYU, trying to take it to the next level as well. BYU and Southern Utah compete in the same conference, the Mountain Rim Gymnastics Conference. And as we mentioned, Denver, who will start out on the vault here, was in the league, but now they're a Big 12 affiliate. So 5 up, Chestnut, Sundrum, Scow, Addison, and Carr will go on the vault for Denver, ranked 6th in the country on this event. Here's Deanna Chestnut.
Great start. Really big vault we see again. Just the same things that we've been looking at on all the other vaults. So this vault is called a Yurchenko fold. It is definitely the most common vault that we will see at the NCAA level. Twist in really tight, arms tight to the body, looking for the floor. She bounced up instead of back. Still a deduction, but a smaller deduction because it looked more controlled. That's what the judges are looking for on the landings, is control.
Jill Van Mierlo will lead things off for the Cougars. She takes a couple of deep breaths as she goes up on the bars. Her career high is a 9.9 in this event.
Jill is in a crucial spot for the Cougars. It's called the leadoff position. Ideally, your leadoff girl scores as high as she can, and then the scores build from there. They really were relying on Jill's experience. She's a team captain. She's pretty consistent to get the girls off to a nice, consistent start every meet, so the remaining teammates can just relax and know that they already have one hit down.
You were a BYU captain. Do you want a captain to go first, kind of lead the charge, be the leadoff?
You know, it doesn't matter as far as the captain goes. BYU actually has 4 captains this year, which is very exciting. They have a lot of leadership. We're looking less for, the girls all lead in different ways. Some of them lead by just working hard. We talk all the time about how Brittany and Natasha just work so hard in the gym. Other captains lead in different ways. We're looking really, mainly we're just looking for whoever is the most consistent in that first spot. Guard is my favorite part of the meets. I love watching his reactions.
His mild reactions.
Yes, he's so subdued all the time.
Jill Van Mierlo from BYU. Now to the beam. First team on the beam, Southern Utah. Mary Packham, 5'2" freshman from Portland, Sunset High School. Been on the beam the last 5 meets. A 9.825 exactly the last 3 meets.
The beam is 4 feet off the ground and only 4 inches wide. We are going to see the girls do things on this 4-inch wide beam that most people wouldn't dream of doing on the floor. Beautiful jump pass. Just like on floor, we'll be looking for tumbling passes that go both forward and backwards. We'll be looking for a toe turn. Leaps and jumps that have at least one leap or jump has to hit 180-degree split. Darn it. This is what we were talking about, that lead-off girl. We really want her to be consistent because as soon as she falls, that puts a lot of pressure on the remaining 5. We don't want anyone else to fall at this point because then you will have to count a fall on beam.
Balance check there from Packham as well.
The toe turns are funny. The toe turns ideally should be your easiest skill. You've done it since you're a little girl at this point, but you almost check out a little bit. You're thinking about your harder skill, and sometimes the toe turn gets the best of you. Beautiful front pass into the dismount. Very smart to do it that way. The front aerial is a difficult pass and it's easy to fall on. They've been very tricky in adding the front layout directly to her dismount so that falling isn't even an option. Here's that dismount. Great landing. She did a really good job. It's always such a bummer when you fall. You are disappointed in yourself. You feel bad for your teammates. And all you can do at that point is just get up and finish strong. And she did a great job doing that.
Here's Mia Sundstrom. Chestnut got a 9.8. Mia Sundstrom, the freshman from Boulder. Her career high is a 9.825 on this event.
Close to the vault. We see she didn't quite turn her round off over, which led to a shoulder angle on the vault. It made it so that she couldn't bounce back quite as far as she wanted, making that head come a little bit closer to the vault than the judges would love to see. Still very safe. The judges are looking for amplitude and distance, however.
So from Mia Sundstrom of Denver to BYU on the bars, Van Mierlo gets a 9.825. And Natasha Trejo-Marsh, the junior from Tucson, goes up next. Her career high is a 9.87 here.
Beautiful handstands. I love watching Natasha on bars. She has just worked so hard to become such a consistent contributor. Good clear hip. Again, we don't see that a lot at the college level. It's kind of fun seeing the different elements. She does the clear up into the shoot over for that connection bonus we talked about. All of BYU's girls just have huge dismounts. Big double lay right there. And again, you can see her teammates are so excited. The momentum is just building, and they're just really setting themselves up for a successful bar rotation. There's that clear hip we talked about immediately into the shoot over. The clear hip's kind of tricky because you go handstand and you have to come out in a handstand to not receive a deduction. Tiny bit close to the bar again. We don't want to be really super close to the apparatus. It gets a little bit dangerous.
And you don't want to be the first one to high five her either, because there's excess powder there. I just don't want to get it in my face. I want to be like the 7th person in that situation. Yeah, exactly. So nice job by Marsh. Packham got a 9.050, so that's the score SU is hoping to drop for sure.
Yes.
Kirsten Yee, the redshirt senior, second up on the beam for the Flippin' Birds.
And again, the T-Birds can really use a redshirt senior. They have a very young team, lots of freshmen. She brings a sense of calm. This isn't new to her at this point. She's already done it a million times. For an acro series on beam, we typically will see a flick lay. What she did there was a kick over front to splashdown type back handspring. I'm not 100% sure she will get the credit for the connection. We'll have to wait and see the score. You have to have continuous movement. It looked like she had just a baby bobble. She did a great job, though, trying to keep the movement going. She has such pretty lines. She looks like she has a high dance background. You can tell which gyms practice in their club careers a lot of ballet.
Did you when you performed?
We did do a lot of ballet, and I was always the worst at ballet. Not something I ever excelled at. Beautiful dismount. The amplitude on that was so great. She completed the flip before she even was at beam level. The judges are looking for that. They don't want to see you flipping on the way down. You see, we just have that tiny bobble. And she really does. She does such a good job hiding it. So I'm hoping that the judges will, because she technically does keep moving. But again, gymnastics, it's subjective. If they feel like she connected enough, they'll give her credit for it. If they feel like the bobble was too much, she will receive a deduction for not only the bobble, but the lack of connection.
Kirsten Yee. Sundstrom gets a 9.75 on the vault. Next up, Kaylin Scow from Orlando, Florida. Top 35 in this event the last 2 years in the country.
I mean, Denver's ranked 6th as a team on vault, so we should expect to see just huge vaults over and over from this team. Again, these landings are killing these teams tonight. The vaults themselves are beautiful, and then we're just seeing hop after hop on the landings. She reaches in, she's so tight on the vault, nice and tight in the air, and then just that little hop on the landing. We're seeing a lot of the Yurchenko folds at the college level because that used to be a 10.0 start value until recently. About 2 years ago, it was downgraded to a 9.95 start value. Still a very high start value, but as the years go on, we'll see more and more differentiation in vaults.
Here's Abby Bowden, the freshman from Roseville, California.
Woo, that was far away from the bar. I cannot believe she caught that. That was great. That is how you should throw a Jaeger technically. But it's very scary to throw your Jaeger like that because you're not 100% sure if you'll catch it. Those are the kind of landings we are looking for tonight. She drives those feet into the ground and they do not move. You'll see she has to stretch so hard. It's beautiful. Like that is exactly what we should see. A pretty good score.
And this is the guard cam.
Oh, guard. We need a
camera just on guard. We've got it. So nicely done, and yeah, here's guard cam. We should have just a separate feed on BYUtv.org. You can just watch him
like down in the
whole time.
corner.
Exactly, little picture in picture. So well done by Abby Bowden. Yee gets a 9.625. And here's Karen Gonzalez, the senior from Murrieta, California.
So it looks like Yee did receive credit for the series, which is great, but based off that's a little lower score. So she did receive a deduction for the bobble. Because other than that, it was a great routine.
Gonzalez has a 9.95 on the beam this season. That is the highest score in the conference.
Beautiful jump passes. She does such a great job of hitting that full split in both the split and the straddle positions, and her legs are just so tight. Preparing for her series right now, this is usually an athlete's most difficult move, the series and the front side move. Does a great job holding on to that flick lay. The key to beam is just taking your time and not rushing. It's very easy. The other events on floor, you have music. On vault, it's over in half a second, and bars, you can kind of get into a groove. But beam, it's so easy to get into your head and overthink it. These gymnasts are doing a great job of just doing what they've trained and pacing themselves well. Very difficult front move. Again, on these front moves, you cannot see the beam until after you've already landed. And on these front aerials, it's extra tricky because you're landing on one foot. If that one foot is off a little bit, you don't have anything to compensate. Huge stick, great routine. We have that tiny bobble on the series, but other than that, I didn't see many deductions. Did you, Jerem?
According to my amateur eye, no.
He's a pro, guys. Don't let him fool you.
See, if she just turns it into a graceful move, it's like, yeah, I meant to do that.
If you just do like swan arms.
Yeah, yeah. Karen Gonzalez, one of those senior leaders.
There is something to be said about good troubleshooting and being able to fake a wobble, isn't there?
Back to the vault for Denver. Scow got a 9.775, and here's Nicole Addison. Went to the regionals last season on the vault.
Yes, that was a pretty good landing. That's more what we're looking for tonight. Tiny shift, barely going to be a deduction at all, to be honest. The whole vault was very good. We see she goes up above the vault and she gets away from it. Pretty ideal what we're looking for in the Yurchenko full. She even flares that out a little bit right before she lands. That just means that she's so high and she twists so fast. She has tons of time to find that landing, which is one of the reasons she was able to do a near stick so well.
Bowden got a 9.85, and here's Haley Pitu for BYU, the freshman from Park City, against Denver 13 days ago. Got a 9.875 on the bars.
Beautiful handstand into the blind change straddle Jaeger. So we're going to get the connection bonus for the blind change into the major release. A lot of times you'll see these girls do that trick where they put their feet on the bar and spin around. It's not worth anything. It's called a soul circle, and honestly, it's just so you don't have to do an extra kick because they're exhausting. Another big dismount landing for BYU.
And all of a sudden, everyone's sticking the landing.
They must have heard us. They must have found out that was the key to the meet. Huge dismount, full in, not 1 ounce of moving.
And guard cam. The single, the double, and then another double. Haley Pitu, excited. When you get lightly strangled from behind, you know it was a good routine.
You know it was well deserved.
And here's Autumn Jorgensen going fourth for Southern Utah. As Gonzalez got a 9.725. So Flippin' Birds looking to try and get a 9.8, high 9.8s the last couple here to raise that score.
What we won't see from SUU on beam is coach, head coach Scotty, he feels like when he watches beam, he's, I don't know, maybe a bad luck charm. So he leaves the building. He leaves the arena and just lets the other coaches handle beam.
So he's clearly watching on the app right now. So hello to Coach Scott Bauman on the track.
The hall? I don't know.
Yeah, where is he? Went to get a hot dog or something?
They do have good hot dogs here.
Jorgensen, I imagine, with a nice contingent in the crowd, being from Orem.
Beautiful leap passes. SU does such a good job with they do a good job with everything, but their leaps on beam are exceptional. They're always not even a question if they count or not. Prepping for the dismount here. Oh, the front flip. Front flips are hard. You don't see those a lot. A lot of times we'll see the kickover instead. It's a little bit easier. The front flip is difficult because you're punching on 4 inches and then you have to land with your legs fairly straight or it's a deduction. Huge dismount. You guys, she just did a double
there he
back
is. He's
off
back.
the beam. Here he is. Here he is. She did a double back off the beam. That is something that the average person can't do on the floor. She just did that on something 4 inches wide. Her series pass, very solid into that difficult front flip. You see she lands with her legs. They can't come below horizontal, like a chair. You can't look like you're sitting lower than in a chair, and she does a great job standing that up into that huge double back. A little bit of a low landing, a little crunchier than you'd expect. But
So he was in here. He just went in the corner.
He fooled us. Maybe they don't know he's watching. Maybe that's the key.
Autumn Jorgensen, nicely done. And here is Maddie Carr, who almost exactly a year ago vaulted a 10.0.
Yes, her height is a 9.95, which means one judge gave her, there's 2 judges on every event. One judge gave her a 10.0, one judge gave her a 9.9. Whoa, huge vault! Oh my goodness, we should see such a good score from that. Is the back 1.5, which is a 10.0 start value. The blind landing, she sticks it solid. Huge vault, so tight in the air. I have no idea what they could deduct on.
Could that be a 10?
I say yes.
It was February 18th last year. Got a 10 on the vault. Will we see it almost a year to the day later from Maddie Carr? Back to the bars for BYU. Brittany Haas.
Speaking of 10s, I've been waiting for Brittany to get her 10 all season. She is such a clean bar worker.
She has the 2nd highest bar score in BYU history, a 9.95.
She is seriously phenomenal. Every single thing she does is just so tight. We saw a tiny bit of a leg separation on that giant full. I don't know if the judges could see it from where they were. Again, a little bobble, but you can see every ounce of her body is just squeezing, and she is so intentional about her casts. Huge double A. A little short on the landing. Unfortunately, where she landed, there was a little bit of like a mountainside. The 4-incher had slid down. I don't know if she could tell where the end of the mat was. Beautiful handstand again. So tight. Those toes are just squeezing tightly together. And here's that dismount. Huge dismount, lots of distance. And you can see that end of you can see how that's kind of slants down. It makes it difficult to tell where your landing is and where you can hop to without falling off the baby mountain.
Almost made her take a step forward, right? Yeah. Jorgensen got a 9.85.
Darn it.
Alyssa Ledoux, freshman from Rockwall, Texas.
I have high expectations for these scores. Like, the routines look so good, and then I get my hopes up.
We're not seeing a lot of 9.9s.
I should go talk to the judges. We should go over there, huh?
During the next commercial break, you'll have a few minutes. Ledoux has been in all 6 meets on the beam and beam only.
Beautiful series right there.
Ledoux with low scores the last 2 meets on the beam, 9.025, 9.150, so trying to take that up a bit.
When we see those scores that are below a 9.5, we can assume that they fell off the beam. So what she will be looking to do tonight is stay on and stay on well to solidify her spot in beam lineup and show she really deserves to be there. Beautiful scissor side there. Gets the toe turn out of the way without any kind of problem. Again, another one of those tricky dismounts where we combine the front side move, the side aerial, immediately into the dismount. It's very smart and very strategic. If you're already jumping off the beam, the odds of you falling off on your side aerial are pretty slim. Beautiful side aerial into the back full. Tiny, tiny hop. Just a tiny, tiny deduction.
Alyssa Ledoux. Denver went 5 up. So we go back to the bars with BYU's Shannon Evans, sophomore from American Fork, as Haas got a 9.775.
So ideally, if Shannon hits, they will drop that 9.775. That is not a bad score to be dropping. When you are in the place that that's what you're dropping, you're doing well as a team. Shannon has a completely different bar routine this year than she did last year. They're just trying to squeeze out any opportunity for deductions that they can. Again, a little bit low on the landing. No other deductions in that routine that I could see. Just a little short on her rotation, causing her feet to hit and her knees to buckle forward. That is a deduction. It'll be a deduction for the step, and then also it'll just be considered a low landing. Huge, huge releases from Shannon. She always does those nice stretched out releases that we saw earlier. And then again, we'll see beautiful double A, doesn't quite get the rotation, the knees buckle forward, causing her to take a small step. But other than that, there really weren't deductions in the set.
So we'll see how it shakes out for BYU, and wrapping up rotation 2 will be Southern Utah's Hannah Nip, the freshman from Laguna Hills, who has participated on the beam in 4 of the 6 meets this year, including the last 3. Career high on the beam, 9.85.
This is the worst part of doing gymnastics, is when you are ready to compete and the judge is not ready. You are not allowed to get on the equipment until the head judge raises their hand. And sometimes if there's some kind of disagreement on the last score, if one judge scores a 9.9 and another judge scores a 9.7, then they'll get together and they'll talk about, hey, what did you take a deduction on? What did you deduct on? Just so that the score is more set.
And there the hand goes up.
Unfortunately, as you're standing there, there's a lot of opportunity to start psyching yourself out. So Hannah's job now is to just get into that rhythm we talked about earlier and just let her body do what it is trained to do. Great front aerial again. 1 foot landing, 1 foot blind landing, a very difficult pass. Into the switch leap, split 3/4. That will be counting as her leap pass and as her 180-degree requirement. Beautiful flick lay. She's now gotten her main difficult passes out of the way. She can kind of relax here, get the turn done, and prep for a good landing on her dismount. We're seeing a side gainer, a little diagonal in the air, but the judges will not be able to see that. All they will see is that she did a very solid landing. You can see how proud her teammates are of that. Beautiful flick lay. A little crooked, but this is what we were talking about with that troubleshooting. She didn't wobble, so there's no deduction, even though it was crooked in the air. And again, another great landing on the dismount.
Fans, make sure you get out there and show your group of pride by supporting
Hannah Knipp, Southern Utah. So rotation 2 is through here in this tri-meet. Strong performances from all the teams. And we'll see who takes the lead at the halfway point after 2 rotations. BYU getting ready to get into rotation 3. Denver, everyone working out and getting ready. BYU on the beam next. Put up their highest score in 13 years last week. Can they equal it or top it today at home against Southern Utah? Again, rotation 3 coming up from Provo.
BYU Gymnastics on BYU TV is brought to you by Tim Daliato Group, serving Utah since 1968. Brady Industries, honestly better. And by AAA. Learn more at AAA.com.
Our meet essentials are brought to you by Emergency Essentials. For over 30 years helping people prepare at BePrepared.com. Emergency Essentials. What do you think, Mikhail?
Hits and sticks, right? The teams have been doing such a great job with their hits. The sticks have only improved as the meet has gone on. It seemed like everyone started a little bit wild, and then they really found their place on the floors, on the mats.
Let's see the scores after 2 rotations. 49-150 on the bars for BYU. Jill Van Mierlo, a 9.825 season high. Abby Bowden, a new career high, 9.850. Southern Utah, a 48.425 on the beam. And then Denver, a 49 flat, including a 9.975, so nearly a 10.0 from Maddie Carr. Just a slight deduction there.
That, again, there's 2 judges. So a score like that indicates that one judge did give her the 10.0. And the other judge would have given a 9.95.
Coming up tomorrow, we have a doubleheader of hoops on BYU TV, starting in Provo with San Diego taking on BYU as Cassie DeVageray and the BYU Cougars hosted at 2 Eastern. After that, 4 Eastern, the men's basketball team live from Jenny Craig Pavilion, a.k.a. the Slim Gym, trying to take down the Toreros, where BYU has gone 3-3 the last 6 seasons. BYU with a dramatic 5-point win in Malibu last night, as seen on BYU TV against Pepperdine, snapping a 4-game losing streak there. So rotation 3 looks like this. Denver on the bars, BYU on the beam, and Southern Utah on the floor. This is the only rotation where none of the teams are ranked in the top 25. And for Denver on the bars, we'll see Kern, Sundstrom, Lamont, Chesnock, Glenn, and Carr will wrap things up. So Denver will throw 6 on this one. They threw 5 gymnasts in the first 2 events.
Yes, that 6th girl really just adds a little bit of cushion to the scores. It allows them, if they do make a mistake, if they cast over on a handstand, that they have that other girl to back them up. Speaking of bars, I heard that guard got you your own set of grips.
He did. They're on the set of BYU Sports Nation, so whenever we need a little extra grip, we just put those on. And then we're good to go as we see Melissa Kutcher-Reinhardt, Big 12 co-coach of the year a year ago. And Denver ranked 10th in the country, the high standard there for the Pioneers out of Denver, one of the top teams in the West. There's Southern Utah, who we will see on the floor exercise. And BYU will be on the beam.
Beam in the past has been BYU's Achilles heel and kind of like a wild card. However, this season, they have really come into their own on beam and just become so consistent. I believe that just the more they hit, the more confident they've gotten. And now instead of hoping they hit, they just expect how well are we going to hit tonight.
Last week in Cedar City against Southern Utah, BYU put up a 49-325.
Huge score.
The highest score in 13 years, 4th highest ever at BYU. So here's Claire Kern. We'll go on the bars to start things off for Denver. Kern from Charlotte, North Carolina. They're from all over the country on this Denver roster.
Yes, they are. For those of you who don't know what grips are, they are the leather coverings that the girls wear on bars. The leather protects their hands, and then they have a wooden dowel sewed into the top that helps them grip the bar. It's really important for that dowel to get on the back side of the bar on the relief smooths. That helps the girls really hold on. Get ready for a big dismount here. Huge, huge opening routine. She does one of those hop changes that we spoke about earlier in the meet into her major release. There's that hop change. Again, it doesn't look difficult. It's so difficult. Into her Jaeger. Getting ready for her shoot over.
And if we have guard cam, we have Reinhardt cam as well.
We really just need it on all of them. Huge landing here. You can see she's looking down at the ground before her feet hit. That is the key for these gymnasts, is finding their landing before it finds them.
So Kern nicely done. Now to the beam from BYU, and the leadoff here. Brianna Pearson. We'll see Hill, Evans, Bowden, Marsh, and Van Mierlo. Pearson, a sophomore from Los Gatos, California. Career high on the beam is 9.775.
Brianna's coaches just describe her as steady Eddie. They love how calm she stays. She has a very laid-back personality, which is not common in gymnasts. Gymnasts are typically a little more on the high-strung side. And she just gets into meets and performs, and the pressure doesn't get under her skin, which makes her a great lead-off competitor. Prepping for her series right here. Kind of a fun little move where she does the flick lay like we've seen everyone do into a little jump called a beat jump. Again, if you're just tuning in, the gymnasts do need to do moves in combination or very tricky moves for their routine to start out a 10-0 start value. When we see the gymnasts connecting moves together, they're looking to get bonus points. Taking a second to just gather her breath. She prepares for the dismount. Great opening set. Very strong start. Here's that tricky series that we talked about where she does that into the jump. Again, a little tiny bit questionable on the connection, but I'm sure they'll give it to her. The round-off entry into the dismount is also a very difficult dismount. You're doing the round off, which switches direction, and then having to go aggressively enough that you can do a twist out of it.
Okay, here's Gonzalez, Karen Gonzalez, the senior from California, on the floor to lead off for Southern Utah.
A little bit of prep work before her music starts. We see these mats on the floor. They're called 4-inchers. There's no deduction for using a 4-incher. It's just really to help keep the gymnast safe, protect their ankles on their landings. Sometimes you'll use it if you're a little unsure of your landing. Again, it's just a safety thing. Gymnastics has a long season. We want these girls' bodies to last. Just like we saw on floor, nice big leaps and jumps from SUU on the floor, just like we saw on beam. Getting ready for that second pass. Beautiful front lay front full. Again, when we watch floor front tumbling, what we want to see is the shoulders stay shoulder height and the feet come up to rotate around them. It is a deduction if the shoulders drop to create the rotation.
Did you have all of your teammates' floor routines memorized?
Oh yeah, you've seen.
Where you react, you see the teammates behind her.
Yes, you've seen this so many times in practice. These girls, to get in lineup, they have made their routines hundreds and hundreds of times in practice, and you get to watch that hundreds and hundreds of times.
Karen Gonzalez.
Great start.
Her career high on the floor is 9.9 at Utah State last year.
She did a great job on this double back. She was a little bit crunchy on her round off back handspring, and she just popped that double back up like it was nothing.
What do you mean by crunchy?
You want the shoulders, you want the line from the wrists all the way down to the hips to be open. We don't want to see a shoulder angle when the hands hit, so we don't want the shoulders to bend at all. If it's a little bit crunchy, it just means that either the elbows are bending or there's a shoulder angle, and it takes away your power. Instead of bouncing off the spring floor, the springs absorb it.
Kern got a 9.875, so Mia Sundstrom goes second. The freshman who got a beam title with a 9.925 on February 3rd. You see the talent of Denver. These freshmen coming in, they're throwing 9.9s.
They are ready, yes, they're ready to go. Another clear hip, those are always fun, into the Tkachev. Some of these tricks have different names. Some people call it a Tkachev, some people call it a reverse hecht. In the end, tricks are named after whoever competed them in an international meet first. So a lot of these skills are named after people. Prepping for that big double A, huge dismount. Very big landing.
And the reaction strong as well.
Guard prepped her. He told her what to do. Big Tkachev right here. Nice big straddle into this beautiful dismount.
Mia Sundstrom.
It is such a good feeling when we joke like she's celebrating and is excited. You've done these routines hundreds of times. And this isn't like basketball. If you miss a shot, you get to go try again in a few minutes. You have one shot tonight to show everything you've been working so hard on.
Pearson.
There's definitely a sense of excitement and relief when you hit and you do your job.
Pearson with a 9.7. Cheyenne Hill now, the junior from Las Vegas.
It's really exciting to see Cheyenne back in lineup. She had knee surgery a little earlier in the year and has just been training really hard to join the team again. And Cheyenne just brings a level of experience to the team that the other girls can really look to. She's always done, even as a freshman, she just stayed very calm in competition, got up, did her job, has never really let nerves get the best of her. A lot of people ask me, you can hear music in the background. Are these beam routines choreographed to music? No, the music's just playing, so it's not silent. But unfortunately, beam's just kind of funny. There's not a lot of other things where you just dance to no music.
Last week in Cedar City against Southern Utah, Hill had a career high 9.875.
Great routine again. The girls are just doing phenomenal tonight. Great opening pass here with her series. Little bit of a bent leg. I honestly don't know if the judges can see that in regular speed, not slow speed. The only questionable part of her whole routine was her kickover into her jump. I'm not sure she got the connection. But other than that, the whole routine looked really phenomenal.
This is a sport where you don't want video replay for the judges. When they see every little nuance, right? Yeah. Gonzalez, 9.85. And McKenna Burnside will go second. The freshman from Fort Worth. Last Friday had a 9.875 against BYU on the floor. She says she doesn't like to wear matching socks. I don't know what that's all about.
No one has time to match their socks.
But she loves 80s rock music, so she is legit.
These gymnasts really may not have time to match their socks. A day in the life of a gymnast is you usually have weights and running in the morning, and then you go to class for several hours, and then you have about 4 hours of practice following class, and then you go back to school at night.
Is she even wearing socks a lot of times anyway? I mean,
That's a good
does it
point.
matter?
Southern Utah.
Playing a little Imagine Dragons, who started in Provo here. Played at a place called Valor. Down the street here in Provo. Now they're big time.
The main road there. Huge tumbling passes in this whole set. Very solid. A lot of times what we'll see are the first 2 tumbling passes back to back before you're tired. This routine is choreographed a little bit differently. She had very minimal rest time between her second pass and her third pass, and she handled it very well. Shows a high level of endurance. That little dance part is my favorite. It's worth nothing, but the crowd loves it. Every time she does it, everyone is just up and cheering.
Oh, it's worth everything to the crowd.
Huge double tuck here. Great landings. The whole team. Typically, there's one part that everyone kind of likes the most, and that's the part you do with your teammate. Great landings again. We'll see another great landing here. We should expect to see a very high score for this set.
Had the 9.875 last week against BYU. Let's see if she can equal that. Back to Denver on the bars. Sundstrom with a 9.9. Very nice. Leah Lamont up next, the senior from Katy, Texas.
So again, the idea is that you put your most consistent girl first, and then the score should build. They have set this routine up to score very high.
Lamont's a grad student studying sport and performance psychology. I think this ties in.
Shoot, that is always such a bummer. That is a very difficult move. It's actually, despite the fact that it is technically a transitional move, it's going from low bar to high bar, that counts as a major release. Depending on what she had planned after it, she may have to repeat the move. Often what happens when we do those Shaposhnikova type moves is that you're planning on doing a release immediately out of it. So we'll see. She reaches back, and that dowel that we talked about, you could see it was just on the bottom of the bar instead of being able to reach around to the other side, and she just really didn't have much of a chance of holding on.
So when she repeats the move,
so it looks
and
like
she did not, right?
So she did not. So because she's able to do her shoot over immediately out of a cast, she doesn't have to repeat the move.
How does that affect her score?
So it's for sure 5/10 off. This is a huge set. That is such a bummer. Beautiful lines throughout the whole rest of the set. It's for sure a 5/10 off every time you have a deduction, but gymnastics is tricky because there's a reason she missed it. She didn't throw the trick correctly, so she's going to get a deduction for not throwing the trick correctly as well.
And a reminder that this is the first event tonight where Denver has put out a 6th. So they needed that probably on this particular routine.
Very fortunate that they made that decision.
To the beam. And Shine Hill scored a 9.7. Shannon Evans will be next up. Her career high is a 9.875 on this event. Try doing that at home.
Again, I don't know if at home you can hear the crowd, but it is so fun. That was just like a fun little mount. She could do that in her sleep. Crowd loves it. I'm sure that's why it gets to stay in.
1,035 in attendance tonight.
Guard has done a very good job filling the crowd. I know there are a lot of little gymnasts here tonight. They're very excited. BYU is hosting their first annual Cougar Classic Gymnastics meet tomorrow here in the Smith Fieldhouse. And a lot of the girls competing tomorrow have come to see the BYU Cougars tonight. This is a solid set. I haven't seen any deductions. Great series, great kick over front. Fun pike jump. You don't see pike jumps a lot of times in gymnastics. You have to get both feet at or above horizontal, and it's just very difficult to do. Many gymnasts honestly can't do it, so they opt for a jump called a wolf jump instead.
Well done by Shannon Evans on the beam.
Beautiful series here. And you can see she's just solid. There is no question if she's going to make it or not. Tiny, tiny hop, tiny, tiny deduction. This face of relief So many
I can't tell if he's excited or annoyed. Was that excitement?
I would say that was relief.
Seemed like it was a good routine.
So many girls stay on.
Burnside gets a 9.825. Here's Molly Jozwakowski, freshman from Missouri. 9.850 is her season and career high here.
Again, if you're just tuning in and joining us for this gymnastics meet, what we will be looking for on floor are the gymnasts who do tumbling passes that go both forward and backwards. We'll be looking for them to do multiple flips as double backs and twisting, doing twists the other way. Molly does a great job opening with that Rudy. That's going to be her front pass and her back pass. So now she's basically free to do whatever she wants since she's already gone both directions.
But she scripted something she wants to do in practice. She's not freelancing, is that what you're saying?
No, definitely not freelancing. She does have some freedom, however, in how this is choreographed now. A lot of times what we'll see in college gymnastics is the girls will mount with a double back, and their second pass will be some kind of front salto because they have to get the front pass and the back pass completed. Molly got that all done in the first pass, meaning that she can just twist her little heart out here with that 2.5 and not have to worry about all the requirements.
Molly Jozwakowski.
Beautiful Rudy right into the back layout, step out. Very strategic again. SUU is very smart in the way that they plan all their landings. That walkout is much easier to stick than a 2-foot landing, so they're going to take advantage of that if they can. We saw Molly only did 2 tumbling passes. It's because her routine had so much difficulty in it, she didn't need the 3rd tumbling pass. That's just fewer opportunities for deductions. Again, another very strategic move.
Lamont got a 9-1. Denver's going to hope that is thrown out. And here's Deanna Chesnock from Charlotte going 4th for Denver. There she is. Her career high here is a 9.925.
Beautiful blind full into the reverse hecht. That is bonus connecting the 2 elements. On these shoot-overs, on these releases where they go from high bar to low bar, we are looking for them to start in the handstand and end in the handstand. The handstands are so important on bars. Looking for a big dismount here, full in, tiny bit short on the landing, takes a little bit of a hop. Other than that, the routine was fairly flawless.
You can see her grimace at the end a little bit, not because of injury, but because I think she wanted better. She shared the bars title at the NCAA Regionals with that 9.925, so she is a high standard performer.
Yes, her expectations for herself are just high. She knows she can hit, and she expects that from herself.
Yeah, there you see her face, maybe a little disappointed with that finish, but still a quality routine. Shannon Evans got a 9.775. And Abby Bowden's up next, the freshman from California. On February 9th, a week ago, a 9.9 career high on the beam against Southern Utah.
I love that little Y that she does. Beautiful series. That is what we have been looking for all night on these forward to backward series moves. There is not 1 ounce of doubt if that was connected or not. Beautiful leap pass. The switch leap into the split quarter. Fun little dance moves. Beam's kind of fun because if it's something you're confident on and you're comfortable with, then you can let a little bit more of your personality show.
A fun look from this angle to see how high off the ground she is.
Right, 4 feet doesn't sound super high until you start doing flips on it.
Abby Bowden.
Beautiful series here. You'll see very solid. There's no wiggling at all in between. big dismount. Again, those round off dismounts are a little bit more difficult into the blind landing forward, but really, really great set from Bowden.
Next to the floor, Giles Wachowski gets a 9.875.
Huge score.
A new career high. And Autumn Jorgensen will go next, the sophomore from Orem, Utah, whose career high is a 9.95 in this event. Last season, first team all floor in the conference.
Huge double pike mount. She did such a good job of making it look very smooth. It had great distance while still staying in bounds. That's very hard to do. This is more that typical college layout that we talked about earlier. Mounting with the double back. Second pass is the front pass. We're going to slow it down a little bit while we get ready for that final pass. On the floor, the gymnasts are required to dance to every single corner. If you don't use the whole floor, that is a deduction.
So there's that strategy. Are you also catching your breath to a degree for a pass?
For sure, especially before this last pass. You'll notice a lot of times they'll stand in the corner and dance. Obviously, you can't just stand there. You get basically a 1.5 breath leeway.
But that's where I stood as a teenager
in the corner
when I danced.
At all the dances.
Autumn Jorgensen. Well done on the floor. One of the top performers in here. One of the top 3 gymnasts in the building.
Again, beautiful, beautiful double pike. Very solid on her landings. We'll see how her shoulders stay really, really upright on this front pass. Tons of amplitude. Again, on floor, the sticking rules are a little bit different. You are allowed to take that step back. It is called a lunge. It is no deduction, as long as it looks like it is a controlled step. If you look a little wild, if you step too crooked, they will take a deduction and say it just wasn't in control enough.
Chesnock for Denver got a 9.975. So here's Emily Glenn, the freshman.
I've been really excited to see Emily's bars. She has consistently been a top performer and has brought in 9.9s this season.
Second meet back last week after an injury, tied a personal best, 9.9, and got the bars title.
Little tiny bit short on that handstand. Huge, huge Ginger. Her handstands, so the deal with the handstands is they have to be within 10 degrees of a handstand. So she's very close. That one was an obvious handstand, counts easy. The other 2 may receive a slight deduction, or they may count as a handstand if the judges are feeling generous or not. Huge dismount. These landings are amazing that we are seeing right now.
This is one of the best we've seen all night.
Yes, takes it up really high. It's kind of an interesting technique. She doesn't take it out very far and just really drives those feet into the ground.
It's almost like she went up a little higher.
Yeah, she did.
Instead of out.
Yeah, she tapped her. The way you control that is the way you aim your toes, and she did. She aimed them up a little more instead of out. It's harder because it doesn't create quite as much natural rotation. She had to create the rotation by herself.
Bowden scores a 9.850. And here's Natasha Trejo Marsh. Last week, the 9.9 on the beam against Southern Utah.
Just such a pretty dancer. I really can't say enough good things about Natasha. When I ask for updates from the coaches, they just gush about her, what a hard worker she is, how she just cares about her teammates. Coach Brogan jokes that she leads with love. She reminds her of a Disney princess. And as one of the captains, again, we mentioned they have 4 this year. They all lead in different ways. It's a really good characteristic to have. You can see it, though. You can see how she's just very calm, very collected. That move right there is called a ring jump. You see how she throws her head back. Very difficult. She loses sight of that very skinny beam and then has to come back down and find it on the landing. That was a huge set. That was great.
Had the 9-9 last week. Will she get a 9-9 this week?
I sure hope so.
Natasha Marsh.
Beautiful leap passes. You see there where she throws her head back, loses sight of the beam, and then has to find it again. Great landing. I'll tell you what, these landings have just improved throughout the meet.
Hits and sticks, like you said. Back to the floor with Southern Utah as Jorgensen got a 9-9 on the floor. That's a big number, ties the season high. And Madison McBride, another gymnast from Orem, Mountain View High School as well. Her career high is a 9.875 on the floor.
That was so high in the air. It's one thing to throw a double pike and just get it around. It's another thing to just launch it into the sky like that. That was very, very impressive. It's a little bit risky to do it. It looks so good, but again, you're just so high up there, you have more room to over-rotate on your landing. There's that front pass. Also counts as her 2-foot pass. There's that slow dance that Jerem was pointing out earlier. We're gonna take a second to just catch her breath there in the corner.
Sometimes you need a sappier song, you know what I'm saying?
Huge, huge tumbling.
Madison McBride for Southern Utah.
Another great set. Following the fact that her teammate just scored a 9-9 right before she went, she has been set up to receive a very high score this round. You're going to see she just goes up and up and up. Look at her over all the people in the crowd.
They're not called the Flippin' Birds for nothing.
Isn't that such a fun mascot? I feel like
Thunderbirds is not good enough, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there should be some kind of cougar one for BYU.
We'll have to figure that out.
Work on your alliteration during the commercial break.
And here's Maddie Carr. As Glenn got a 9-9. Look at that. So 2 9-9s for Denver on the bars. And Maddie Carr, the sophomore from Minnesota, up last for Denver.
Great handstand. That was a great, that was an interesting technique. She looked like it was going to go out and she pulled it back in. She does the giant full into the ginger, into the shoot over. Again, all that connection is worth a lot of bonus. To a big dismount here. A little bouncy. It was like she didn't quite expect the mounts to be quite as bouncy as they are. It was a good set. You're gonna see here, she has it. She has the stick and just kind of trampolines up just a tiny bit. Really good routine.
Jill Van Mierlo. Last on the beam as Marsh got a 9.875. So the highest score thus far for the Cougars, and Van Mierlo will finish things off on the beam where her career high is a 9-9.
You can see the mat is not directly under the beam. There's no rules necessarily about where the mat needs to be. It's less distracting to have that mat off to the side for her dismount now, so that her teammates aren't having to pull it later. You see when we are watching bars, the teammates or coaches are pulling the mats in and out. It's just distracting, and where the judges are right there, they prefer it that doesn't happen. really solid routine so far from Jill.
Jill, one of those senior leaders you mentioned, took third in the all-around at the conference championships last year.
And you know, Jill has just always been a great leader on the team. She was freshman of the year when she came in a few years ago, and she's just maintained that momentum her entire gymnastics career. A little bit of a cat leap into the side aerial. Big side gainer here. The side gainers are tricky because you want to be close enough to the beam that it counts, but you don't want to kick the beam. So it's a little bit of a tricky dismount. Whereas all the other dismounts, the dismounts off the end, you're looking for distance and amplitude. You're fine to get away from the beam.
Big scores on the floor from Southern Utah. 9.875 for McBride after the 9.9 from Jorgensen. And here's Madison Loomis, the sophomore from California. A transfer from San Jose State. 3 floor routines this year, but none the last 2 meets. So they throw her in 6th here to finish up rotation 3.
Sometimes what will happen, and I don't know if this is the case tonight, if a gymnast is kind of having a hard time, they'll put you up 6th. And that way, assuming the other people all hit, there's no pressure on you. They already hit the 5 routines. Now you just get to get up and do whatever you want to do. Preferably hit though, yeah? A little wild on the landing. Again, we're looking at that tape on the mat. Because she stepped on it with both feet, that will be 2/10 off her overall score. It's just a little bit difficult sometimes to adjust to the equipment on this basketball floor. Again, the extra bounce over on bars. In practice, they're cabled down to concrete, and here they're held down by water bottles or weights. Taking a little bit of a breather here, getting ready for that final pass. A little bit of a low landing, but she does a great job keeping it on her feet and then jumps right into that end pose. If you do not end with your music, it is a deduction. So she did a great job putting some hustle into that final spot of her routine.
Was she behind just a little bit and then had to land and then go down?
Yeah, it might have been a tiny bit behind. And then the low landing doesn't help because you're not as reactive. You have to come up from that small squat.
And here that final pass. Music's about to end, lands it, and down.
Comes down in it.
Madison Loomis finishes things in rotation 3. And the final rotation coming up. 2 top 20 teams, and in this final rotation, all 3 ranked in the top 25 in their respective rotations. You don't want to miss it. Southern Utah on the ball, Denver on the beam, BYU on the floor. The final routine coming up.
BYU Gymnastics on BYU TV is brought to you by Emergency Essentials, 30 years of helping people prepare. The BYU Store, the official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere. Deseret First Credit Union, sharing your values. And by DexterLaw.com, for help when you need it most.
The last time BYU had a tri-meet, 2016, the Cougars hosted UC Davis and Boise State. BYU scored a 195-475. Mackenzie Johnson Halliday, all-around score of 39-250 to lead the way. These tri-meets can be logistically tricky, but quite fun, especially tonight where we don't have multiple going at the same time. We've been able to watch everybody do everything.
I love it. It's busy. It's busy and it's fun.
And tonight, Denver ranked 10th, Southern Utah coming off season high last week in the house. And BYU scored that 195-475. in year 1 under Guard Young, and he has taken the program to another level now, ranked in the top 25 the last several weeks.
He really has, and the girls just talk about how much they love working for Guard and Natalie and Brogan, and how much respect they have for the coaches, and they feel like the coaches have for them, which is great.
Southern Utah goes 4-9, 3-2-5 on the floor. Nicely done. 4-9 flat for Denver, and then BYU with a 4-8-9. So here we go into the final rotation. And the leader right now is Denver at a 147, 525 overall. BYU just slightly behind at 147, 250. And Southern Utah at 146, 975. All three teams hoping they can throw at least a 196 today as Guard Young goes over final preparation here. As BYU will be on the floor ranked 13th in the country. Denver on the beam ranked 7th in the country. And Southern Utah on the vault 23rd in the country. So they're the flippin' birds, get their fans going with the appropriate gesture. And all three teams ranked in the top 25 in their respective routines in this set. A couple of individual scores of note. Maddie Loomis for Southern Utah, a career high on the floor at 9.6. Hannah Nip of Southern Utah, 9.875, career high in that last rotation on the floor. Claire Kearney, 9.875, season high, ties a career high for Denver. And Shannon Evans' score was changed to 9.825 for BYU on the beam. So here we go, BYU in contention to win the meet against 10th ranked Denver. And the Cougars, the home team in the Olympic order, finishing. And sometimes you're just so excited you got to dance it out.
We can see floor team out there in the middle of the floor getting ready, talking themselves up. It's kind of a fun little, even though gymnastics is so individual, it's such a team sport at the college level. That is one of the things that's hard about having a young team, as some of these teams are quite young, is that at the club level, before you get to college, it's very individual. You're competing for yourself. You come to college and suddenly the team is more important than the individual, and it's kind of a mind shift.
Megan McBride will start things on the vault for Southern Utah, the sophomore from Orem.
The McBride girls do such good landings. They can stick all day, all night. So I've been so excited to see them here tonight on vault.
Megan's career high in the vault is a 9.9, so she brings it.
Oh, so close, so close. Huge vault. Again, these vaults are great. Gets in really fast. Nice open there on the vault. Just like we spoke about earlier on floor, we want to see a nice long line all the way from hip all the way to fingertips when the girls hit the vault. We don't want to see any shoulder angle or elbow bend once they contact that vault.
Now to the beam. See Addison, Chestnut, Glenn, Sundstrom, Maddie Carr, and Scal. Let's go Addison, start things. Senior from Florida. Career highs at 9.875 on the beam. Last 2 years, competed in the beam for Denver at regionals. And has done so the last 2 seasons for Denver.
Woo! That was she did a great job. You could see right from that first, it's called a back handspring or a flick. It was going off to the side. She did a great job pulling it on. If you can get both feet on the beam, you still get credit for the skill even if you fall. So even though she's going to take a deduction for the fall, a large deduction, she still gets credit for the skill. So it's all about minimizing deductions once you know that it's going downhill fast. Unfortunately, a fall this early on in the lineup is very challenging. Her teammates now have a little extra pressure on them to hit. Beautiful side summy. A lot of times you see those done with very bent knees. That's acceptable, but hers were a little more straight. And I think, just personally, I think it looks a little prettier done that way.
So if the judges share the same opinion.
Beautiful gainer off the end. She really came back from that fall great. She did what she could with the series. It could have gone very wrong. She minimized deductions there and then did an almost flawless routine following that. And you can see, watch, it will go right from there. And again, the beam is only 4 inches wide. There's just not a lot of room to recover if it gets off even a little bit. The margin for error is so small on beam.
See Coach Melissa Kutcher-Reinhardt having a chat. BYU on the floor. Brianna Pearson will start things. Van Mierlo, Miner, Evans, Greenleaf, and Marsh round things out for BYU in this 4th and final rotation.
Brianna has a huge opening pass. It's that front double twist. That is an E-level pass, one of the most difficult ones you can do. We talked on beam how Brianna's a little bit laid back. Coach Brogan loves the beginning of her routine. She feels like it's just very showy of her personality. Her just laying there, bobbing her feet around. Here comes that front double twist. And it is so high. You see there, she has the mat in the middle of the floor. We're used to seeing it on the edge of the floor. Totally allowed. Sometimes that can give a little bit extra bounce to it if you can hit it just right. Brianna has been working so hard this season on just tightening up her dance, her leaps, her jumps, because the truth is, despite the fact they're not as fun to watch as the tumbling passes, they're worth just as much. And you can just see all the effort she's put in on those leaps really paying off. Beautiful, Rudy. Lands with the chest very upright. We're looking for that on floor. We don't want to see knees really bent, chest low. We want to see everything very upright on the landings. Huge opening set for BYU. It can really only build on this.
Well, she went with MC Hammer, so she's going to win over the judges,
obviously.
clearly.
It's going to be amazing.
Brianna Pearson starting on fire on the floor for BYU.
Huge double twist. Great landing. And then we'll see here, watch her chest when she lands. It's almost directly upright. That is exactly what the judges are looking for.
So a strong start for the Cougars on the floor. And to the second vaulter for Southern Utah we go. The other McBride sister, Madison, whose career high is 9.875 on the vault.
Madison McBride on the ball for SUU.
Taking a moment to catch your breath and visualize.
You do have 30 seconds from the time the judge salutes you to land. Yes, that's what I've been wanting!
There's that McBride stick you talked about.
It's so good. Huge vault all the way around. When we watch the replay, you'll see she is totally extended when she hits the vault. And it allows it to just, yes, and then just bounces right off. She's in really tight, and you can see she is looking for the ground, probably halfway through. These coach cams, I think that's my new favorite part of gymnastics meets.
The reaction tells the story most of the time. Madison McBride. Now second up on the beam for Denver after Addison got a 9.125 after falling off the beam. Deanna Chesnock, whose career high is a 9.8.
A little bit of Greatest Showman in the background. Seems appropriate. These guys are basically circus performers.
This has been a great show. I agree with that.
Beautiful sheep jump. You can see her throw her head back, lose sight of the beam, and then come back down very confidently. That sheep jump is a D level move. She gets bonus just for throwing it. Beautiful turn there. Again, the turns are kind of a trick. They should be simple. but they can get the best of you sometimes. So it's great seeing these girls just hit those turns so confidently. It's kind of the equivalent of missing a layup. It's one of the first things you learn, but you still miss it sometimes.
Yeah, got to make it consistently, right?
She is just really pacing herself well and taking her time. She looks so confident up there. That is perfect distance. Do you see how close she is to that beam? That's why those dismounts are so tricky, because you want to be close enough that you're going up instead of out, but you definitely don't want to hit the beam. Beautiful front aerial right there. Beautiful.
Her career high is a 9.8, perhaps a new career high for Chestnut. We'll see. That was pretty good. Jill Van Mierlo on the floor for the Cougars after Pearson's 9.85.
Great start.
BYU, Jill Van Mierlo.
Van Mierlo's career high is a 9.9, so very strong on the floor.
Jill has caught a lot of flack for this routine. She does the Heisman there. And
To the Fox Sports theme.
she does. Last year she had people writing in to tell her how to improve on her Heisman pose. Like, the girl is flipping all over the place. And people are like, no, you do it with your leg up, you do it with your leg down.
She could have asked Ty Demmer while he was here how to do it.
Should have made some arrangements.
Go look at the trophy.
Jill is such a performer. She does a great job on floor.
And now we've hit turbulence.
Kind of a fun little move there.
Don't try that on your normal floor.
The Shushinova down to the belly. I really haven't seen many deductions in this routine either. BYU is on pace for a season high 4 already.
Flashes the Y sign at the very end. Nicely done by Jill Van Mierlo, and the entire team comes out to the floor to meet her.
BYU is highly ranked on floor, and watching these girls, you can see why. Huge double back, great landings, great performance, beautiful leaps and jumps. There's that chest up that we talked about. That chest was almost directly vertical.
Highly ranked 13th. And guard Young, excited to say the least.
I feel like he probably goes home as tired as the girls are.
Spending a lot of energy there. And she looks at her score. I think she was almost disappointed with that from that reaction.
I couldn't see the score.
It looked like it was a 9.85. Turned and thought she may have gotten a 9.9, I think.
I kind of thought she was going to get a 9.9.
Madison McBride got a 9.85. The McBride sisters bringing it. And here's Autumn Jorgerson, 9.85 is her career high here.
The judges have been, whoa, that was high. The judges have consistently been putting out a little stiffer scores, but as long as they're consistent, then it's fair. They're not favoring one team. They're not going easy on other people. Look at how high this is. The amplitude is just bonkers. She is, again, when you can see the top people and the stands underneath the gymnasts, you know they are crazy high.
I think they played the Greatest Showman soundtrack. All of a sudden, everyone's jumping out of the building after hearing that. Chestnut gets a 9.425. So Denver kind of struggling on the beam through the first two. Emily Glynn trying to improve the scores here. She'll go third for Denver on the beam.
Again, we talked about beam is a little bit of a wild card for most teams. It's kind of the Achilles heel. On floor, if you make a little bit of a miss, if you're off by an inch, who cares, whatever, you can figure that out. On bars, you can slow your swing down. Beam, you just really, there's not that room for error. You have to be almost dead on.
And Denver is ranked 7th in the country on the beam.
That was very good high. That is such a difficult leap pass. The switch leap into another switch leap immediately. She has to have such strong legs to do that. Prepping for, usually what happens is when you, oh shoot.
And Denver, through the first three, has
kind of
really struggled
a little bit. Yeah. It is so frustrating when you fall like that because she is just taking it like a champ, but that does not feel good. And she has to finish her routine knowing it probably is counting. Unfortunately, not only does that hurt and it's a fall, because she didn't get both feet on the beam, it won't even count as an element. Beautiful lead pass, holy moly. Here's that fall again. We see that front foot just slips a tiny bit. And again, a tiny bit is just so much when the beam's only 4 inches wide. As a coach, you're in such a hard position because all you want to do is go check on your girl, and you can't. You've got to let them finish the set.
So a tough go at it for Emily Glenn. And Denver is going to have need some high scores at the end. Makes up some ground. Here's Abby Miner, the freshman from Mapleton, Utah.
We have been so excited for Abby's routine. We saw the AA earlier, and now we get to see it again. It's not a very common pass because it's so hard, and Abby throws it like she learned it 100 years ago, and it's just the easiest thing she's ever done.
Dad Gary played baseball at BYU. Her season and career high 9.875 for the freshman.
It's so huge. I love how the first flip kind of levels out and then the second one rises. You don't see that on regular double backs. You hit the apex at the first and then the second drops. With double A's, it's so cool. The physics behind a double A is just so cool to see. Abby is another one of those gymnasts that, because her opening pass is so difficult, she only has to do 2 passes. So Coach Brogan has decided to take out the third pass, eliminate the option for extra deductions, and it's really paid off. She's able to kind of chill out after that double A and just get ready for her final pass the whole time. That was a very good save on that front layout. The whole meet we've been talking about, we want the shoulders to go up and the body to rotate around the shoulders. What we saw there is the shoulders had to drop to compensate for coming out of the back 1.5 a little off. She did such a good job staying on her feet though. You guys, it's so big. Then you'll see here how the shoulders will actually go down a little bit. And she's able to sneak those feet under. That's so easy to fall when the shoulders do that. She did amazing. He wasn't so sure she was going to get those feet under, was he?
He's not a sweater. Otherwise, that thing would be soaked, man. He's looking stressed. Jorgensen gets a 9.825, so 3 strong scores from the Flippin' Birds on the vault. And fourth up, Morgan Alfaro from California. Career high 9.825 on the vault. Southern Utah ranked 23rd on the vault.
Huge vault again. The amplitude these T-birds get is just crazy. Big step on the landing. That will be a deduction. But on this replay, I want you to see just how high in the air she is. Great repulsion off that vault. Do you know what? It was so high, she piked down a tiny bit. And if she hadn't done that little bit of a pike down, I think she would have stuck it. What we want to see is the body is just totally straight the whole time, all the way down. She broke in the hips a little bit. I honestly don't think she realized she was as high as she was.
Midway through the fourth rotation, BYU in front ahead of Southern Utah and then Denver at this point. We'll see how it shakes out. Fourth up as Glenn got a 9.250. So Denver's going to have to count 2 low scores here. And Mia Sundstrom, the freshman from Boulder, is up next on the beam. Career highs 9.925 for the freshman here. 2 weeks ago, got the beam title.
Great side aerial. There, it is so hard when you have had falls in front of you to just relax and do what you have trained to do. She knows that her team cannot afford any faults at this point. So there's a lot of pressure on her to just get up and hit a flawless set. Good fight. She just looks a little stiffer than she has in the past. You'll see on her first pass, she just, instead of absorbing her landings a little bit, she's just so stiff that it kind of bobbles her off a little bit. And there haven't been any major deductions. She's doing a great job. There's just tiny bobbles everywhere. Great dismount, huge landing. Exactly what her teammates needed to see. She's done a great job of resetting the pace for her future teammates that still have to get up and compete. You'll see just a tiny bit stiff, and it leads to just little bobble checks. Great landing here, though.
Almost held still in the air as she rotated and then landed firm. Mia Sundstrom, the freshman for Denver.
It's good. When they pause in the air like that, it's called their lift. So we want to see that on all these big dismounts, or big lifts.
Miner with a 9.85. 3 strong scores so far on the floor for BYU in this 4th and final rotation. And Shannon Evans, whose career high is a 9.9 on the floor, goes 4th for the Cougars. From Fox Sports with Jill Van Mierlo to Old School with Evans. The music tells us something about the gymnast, does it not? A little Hawaii 5-0 never hurt anybody.
Shannon is known. She is just a crowd favorite. We talked about that earlier in the meet. The crowd loves her. She just performs very dynamic, full of energy on floor. She is all out here. It's so fun to find a gymnast that can not only do huge tumbling, but that can just relax and have fun while she's doing it. These tumbling passes are so high in the air. This is one of the crowd's favorite parts.
We're gonna need a bigger boat.
She's truly just such a performer.
This is where the personality comes out.
Yes. Huge, huge routine.
Shannon Evans.
Such an asset to this floor lineup.
And BYU's crushing it on the floor right now. If they keep this going, they're winning this meet.
Watch the amplitude on this. So high. We're going to see a lot of the girls are doing 2 double backs. One is a double pike, one is a double tuck. Technically, they are different skills because they are in different shapes. Huge front pass. She knows exactly where her landings are. It's just great.
And a 10. A 10 from Shannon Evans on floor. A perfect score.
That is amazing. I don't even know the last time BYU scored a 10.
And this crowd response. What a performance.
That is a dream come true. The odds of you ever actually scoring. Gymnastics is so subjective. The odds of you actually scoring a 10.0 is just minuscule. Such an exciting moment for Shannon.
They make those signs, and normally it's just nice.
Yeah, it's just like,
Tonight,
oh.
it's somebody's score, and that score is Shannon Evans on the floor. To the vault we go. Alfaro got a 9-8. Southern Utah putting up strong scores.
Molly is doing such a great job focusing right now. Here in the arena, it is just crazy.
How do you go after someone gets a 10?
You know, it is hard. You have to really block everything out. Super tricky vault for Molly, too. She doesn't do the typical round-off entry. She does more of a Kazamatsu entry, which means you don't have that extra power coming from the round off. So she has to create so much momentum just from her run and her board hit.
Molly Joswakowski from Missouri. And to the beam we go, and Denver needs a strong performance. A 9-9 for Mia Sundstrom, so nice response.
Huge sets all of a sudden.
Following 3 tough scores.
Yes.
Yeah, we saw a 10, now a 9-9, and Maddie Carr up next, the sophomore from Minnesota. On the beam, her career high is a 9.925, competing in the all-around as well tonight.
And she has also been putting up very big scores all night. Such a fun series. We never get to see that. The side aerial is very difficult to do anything out of because of that because it's twisting. So it's so easy to get off on it. Another one of those side summies. The difference between the side aerial and the side summy, there's a little bit different set. We talked about the set a little earlier. And then it lands sideways instead of parallel to the beam. Getting ready for a big dismount here. Always sticks. I watched her warm up several times, several of those in warm-ups, and she stuck every single one. She was just a machine on it. You see that solid. You can, I don't know if you guys can hear her teammates in the background yelling 10 right now. Huge dismount, tons of amplitude, solid landing, not even a bobble on it.
So Sundstrom and Maddie Carr riding the ship a bit. And Evans ends up getting a 9.95. So originally a 10, adjusted, or was that one judge?
So again, when we see the 9.95, we can see that one judge gave her a 10.0.
The Russian judge, clearly.
Clearly. The other judge gave her a 9.9, and then they averaged the 2.
Well, that's a buzzkill.
I know, we were so excited.
Kylie Greenleaf up next on the floor. Still an incredible 9.95 for Evans, which that is a career high for her as well.
Oh, she only got a 9.95.
What a pity party. And here's Greenleaf as BYU is crushing it right now on the floor, pacing to win this meet. And that would be a nice result for BYU against 10th ranked Denver. And like you mentioned, it's not head-to-head per se, but Denver's in the house and you want to compete.
It is. It's still a good feeling. It's such a confidence booster when you can go head-to-head with these teams and hold your own.
And oh, by the way, Southern Utah, no slouch. They beat BYU and had a season high 196, 800 last week. And BYU here at home in a tri-meet on national TV bring their A game.
Huge leaps from Kylie. She does such a good job using the floor. A lot of times what we see on floor is that the girls forget their springs under it and they kind of jump in between their leaps. She does a good job kind of making the bounce work for her. Great job staying in bounds. That was so close. She really watched that white edge and made sure that first foot did not go out. Kylie had this same floor music last year and she's just really grown into the routine. It's allowed her to just relax and perform it this year. She doesn't have to think about any of the choreography. She can just come out and enjoy her time on floor. Another huge set.
Natasha March will go next. Her score is gravy for BYU on the floor here. It's Greenleaf. Strong
Huge
performance.
Double back. Natasha does it a little, or Kylie does it a little bit differently. She takes out the back handspring. The back handspring and the round off back handspring double back is not required. It's just common. It typically straightens you out following the twisting round off. She likes to just go right out the round off.
Southern Utah, by the way, all the way up to a 196 already. And 9.8
I was going to
from
say,
everybody. So Burnside, no pressure here. Her career high is 9.75. So if she ties a career high, she'll be dropped. That's how good Southern Utah has been on the vault tonight.
Solid event for the T-Birds. Oh, shoot. Really, darn it, really good in the air.
And she might be hurt.
You know, these gymnasts are tough. They're very tough. So usually if they don't get off the mat, it's a bad sign. You'll see she just honestly doesn't get that rotation quite where she needs to. You know, I can't tell. I'm assuming it's her ankle. It looked like her knees went forward.
And that right leg being attended to for McKenna Burnside.
All of these teams have amazing trainers that they bring with them. They bring a medical staff with them to all of their meets that know all of their injuries. They know how to treat them. They know what best to do.
Maddie Carr, a 9.95. So Sunstrom and Carr,
close.
Incredible. And yeah, so close to
You
that
guys,
10.
I just want to see this 10 so bad.
And here's Caitlin Scow, the junior from Orlando, whose career high is a 9.95 here, so she can bring it on the beam as well for Denver, who needed some strong scores after several falls on the first three. Our second to last performer of the evening. BYU out in front, by the way, 196-625 right now.
That was an amazing series. We don't often see those three-part series. She not only did the forward-back series with a great connection, by the way, she kept it going into a flick lay. Lots of bonus there. Beautiful sheep jump. Assuming that she can do a good landing on her dismount, this should receive another high score.
Caitlin Scow. So the back three for Denver, really strong on the beam.
So strong. They may even be able to compensate. Those scores are so strong, they may be able to compensate for some of those lower scores at the end.
Just to salvage something on the beam.
Yes.
Where they are ranked 7th.
These away meets are so important for these teams because their rankings are based on their RQS that the rankings are based on the RQS that you have to have 3 away scores to count.
Just a moment ago, McKenna Burnside for Southern Utah being carried off. We hope she's okay. For Southern Utah, the 5-foot freshman from Fort Worth, Texas. Now BYU, and the meet finishes with this. Natasha Marsh on the floor as Greenleaf got a 9.875. So who knew that Abby Minor's 9.850 would be the low score?
What? What is even happening? Natasha has done such a great job being a leader for her team. She was not originally in lineup. They did have a big loss on floor, the Cougars did, when Mackenzie Douglas went down last week at SUU. And
for her Achilles, that was a big loss.
For her Achilles, she will be out, and it's just so sad. And Natasha came in, upgraded her floor pass. She did not have the double back in her floor pass last year, and has just really stepped up to take over as this 6th person. Again, the 2 double back routine is huge, and that's exactly what BYU is looking for. Those were big shoes to fill, and Natasha just stepped right into them. let it go music that she's dancing to. Again, the coaches just described Natasha as a Disney princess. She just has so much love in her heart, and she's just kind of always thinking of others.
Launching icicles everywhere.
Launching icicles, you know how it goes.
Has a weird, odd relationship with her sister, maybe. Maybe it all fits.
We don't know. We don't know what happens. The snowman.
Denver finishes with a 195.975.
Another great job getting those feet under her on that front layout in a situation that would have been really easy to under-rotate that and take a fall.
And BYU wins this meet.
Huge meet for BYU. BYU has consistently been underrated for the past several years, and I think that everyone's just starting to realize that they are legit and they mean business. They're very excited. Their goal is to have an RQS of 18 or be ranked 18 or better. That will cause them to be seeded going into regionals and make it a little easier as they try to get into nationals.
Southern Utah puts up a 196.075. That is the second highest score.
Huge score for Southern Utah. And they're going to be so excited to be able to use that in their RQS.
Here's the Dexter and Dexter performance of the meet. Dexter Lass is passionate about shouldering people's burdens as it is about BYU. Dexter and Dexter helps when you need it most. DexterLaw.com. The best thing we saw tonight, a 9.975 by Maddie Carr of Denver on the ball.
So good. I still am not really sure where they took that little baby deduction. That looks so perfect.
Also a career high in the all-around for Maddie Carr. A 39.75. So an incredible night from Maddie Carr. Our MVP of the meet tonight is brought to you by AAA. What does your insurance do when it's not doing insurance? It should do more. Learn more at AAA.com. Shannon Evans at 39.425 all around, 9.95 on the floor. She got a 10 from one judge.
We'll take it. We'll take what we can get. It's a 10 in our heart, Shannon.
As BYU scored a 196.625, a new season high for the Cougars. We told you this would be a good meet at the beginning, and it was. Southern Utah, second highest score. BYU, highest score. And Denver with a 195.975. Third lowest, so not the strongest performance from Denver. Tough at the end on the beam there. And BYU, a season high 196.625. Good meet from everybody here tonight. 10th ranked Denver, 19th ranked BYU certainly will move up a little bit, increasing their average with a new season high. This was fun. This was some great skill. They played the Greatest Showman. We saw some great showmen.
We saw the Greatest Showman here on the floor tonight.
So BYU wins it, 196.625, a season high. We saw a 10 from one judge tonight. Fantastic stuff. Thanks for hanging out with us. Doubleheader tomorrow, starting with women's hoops at 2 Eastern. BYU and San Diego, 4 Eastern, the men's team. Guard Young was excited. Southern Utah, Denver, and BYU brought it. Congratulations to all three teams. For Mikkel Merkley and our crew, I'm Jeremy Jordan saying good night from Provo. A fun time tonight, 2 top 20 teams in action as BYU wins it at home.